If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing because I know there's a lot of content out there and you don't have to. I'm on the hunt for 1,000 subs in 2019, so if you can help out, that would mean the world. But other than that, have a great day and enjoy the video. Apple ended March 2019 with a few worms, from continued backlash against their plagued butterfly keyboards, the lawsuit from Qualcomm, and a few more bugs under the skin. But at its core, wink wink, I think Apple made a very wise, okay that was corny, almost promising decision to cancel the AirPower project. So here's why, in my opinion, canceling AirPower was a good move.
Yeah.
This is Geek Therapy Radio.
What do we wait for?
And now your mental curator, Johnny Hamburger.
Every now and then, a company needs to shake the tree and rid itself of bad fruit. What's left are healthy fruit that can ripen unhindered by the rotten fruit that has fallen to the ground. So Tim Cook stepped to the apple tree. Geez, these puns, I gotta stop. Tim Cook stepped to the apple tree and gave it a few good kicks. One of these rotten apples, oh, I promise I'll stop, was the AirPower project. Now, to be brief with the technicals, AirPower was essentially glorified wireless charging. We've had wireless charging for a few years now, and at its best, it's fiddly. For the most part, wireless charging consists of one induction coil under the base that interacts with another induction coil in your device. When the coils are lined up just right, the coil in the base pushes electrons through the coil in your phone in one direction, creating the necessary positive and minus charge circuit to fill your battery. This is essentially the same process that your induction stove uses, except your pot doesn't contain another coil, so the coil in the surface of your stove just shoves electrons around through the metal of the pot violently, which creates friction, which of course creates heat. Okay, science lesson over, but the key word there is heat. Apple, a $1 trillion company, has had a terrible track record recently with how to dissipate heat. The AirPower mat doesn't have just one induction coil, it has dozens. In a nutshell, the idea was that you just plop down your iPhone, AirPods, and Apple Watch willy-nilly and it would be charged by one of the nearest coils under the surface. The problem is, like I mentioned earlier, that wireless charging is fiddly. You need to have the coil in your device aligned perfectly with the coil under the surface of the charger. If it's not, the result is closer to what happens on your stove than it is to charging. Picture yourself in a long, okay, this gets weird for a second, but picture yourself in a long tube slide aimed straight at the water at a 90-degree angle. You'll fall freely through the middle in perfect alignment. Now picture the slide is at a slight, 75-degree angle. You'll rub against the side the entire way down, suffering third-degree friction burns. Birds? Friction burns because you're out of alignment, just like me in my script. You remember that scene in Arrested Development?
Beads.
Bees?
Beads.
Beads?
Job's not on board.
Anyways, so with AirPower, you plop the device down willy-nilly, but never perfectly aligned with any of the coils. The electrons are getting jammed against the wire rather than traveling freely through it. Now you have an extremely basic understanding of why the physics behind AirPower failed. The speculation of how Apple shoulda, coulda, woulda can be debated for hours, but that's not the point of this argument. Apple canceling a product after it was unveiled is unprecedented and highly embarrassing. But to me, this is an extremely welcome sign from Apple. If there is one trait Apple has struggled with since inception, it is humility. Not once since Apple was founded in Steve Jobs' garage can I recall Apple being brave enough to show a dent in its armor. The 2018 i9 MacBook Pro should have been canceled like AirPower, and Apple doesn't want to make that mistake again. So to me, canceling AirPower is a good thing. Apple could have released AirPower and charged us top dollar for the privilege of owning a crippled product, just like they have many times in the past, only to have the company and apologists tell us,
You're using it wrong.
For the iPhone 4's reception issue, we were told we were holding it wrong. For the 2018 MacBook Pro, it was because we weren't using optimized software. Bullshit. Apple is not infallible. Apple can and has made products plagued with problems. But canceling AirPower, to me, is hopefully a sign that Apple has turned a corner and is, you know what, actually listening to us. Some say that Apple canceling AirPower was, quote-unquote, embarrassing. You know, the sentiment that admitting fault is something to be ashamed of is merely the unfortunate byproduct of a world increasingly devoid of personal integrity. I'm going to repeat that last statement right there. The sentiment that admitting fault is something to be ashamed of is merely the unfortunate byproduct of a world increasingly devoid of personal integrity. Identifying our faults isn't weakness, it's strength. Apple canceling AirPower before selling us yet another faulty product is a welcomed change of pace. 2019 might be the turning point at which Apple wins more people over through their newfound integrity and honesty. We can only hope. And of course, I might be wrong. So to Apple, I say, keep it up. Good job. Though clickbait articles and sensational media might throw you under the bus for showing weakness, believe me, millions of us understand that you actually displayed incredible strength and integrity by knowing when to fold them with AirPower. But what do you think about this issue? Let her rip in the comments below. And like I mentioned earlier, if you'd consider subscribing to my channel, I am in the hunt for 1,000 subs here in 2019. That would mean the world to me because I know there's a lot to choose from here on YouTube and you certainly don't have to subscribe. So if you do, that'd be amazing. Also, you can subscribe to the podcast. Just search for, if I can talk, just search for Geek Therapy Radio. Make sure it's with Johnny Hamburger and you'll be all set. It's available on iTunes and Spreaker and Google Podcasts and Pocket Casts and all sorts of different outlets. Other than that, take care and I'll see you in the next episode of Geek Therapy Radio.